Moses. That has nothing to do with the Abrahamic covenant. That was added 430 years later to be a testing instrument to show the Jews how sinful they were and how desperately they need the grace of God. They can never be saved by works. And that doesn't go through the cross. It won't be functioning in the kingdom. It ended when Jesus died. He fulfilled it and He finished it. The covenant through Moses. Okay? So through all these periods of Jewish history, these things are being worked out one step at a time. When the church came, this part began to be fulfilled. The new covenant, new birth. Okay? In a total system. Now, many Jews before Christ came were born again. But it wasn't a separate nation, see, a separate, distinct program. Today, then you could be a Jew, 100% Jew, and not be born again. Many of the Jewish high priests and kings were not born again. Okay? But today you cannot be in the true church unless you are born again. So we are the first total outworking of the new covenant in terms of an organism, right here. Now, of course, everybody in the kingdom, everyone who enters the kingdom will have to be born again. Now, friends, let's admit this, shall we? This is not easy. But God expects you to know your Old Testament well enough to see the basic plan and the promises and see how Christ fulfilled these things and will ultimately fulfill them when the kingdom comes. Now, here's what it'll be like. This will be according to the Apostle Peter in his great sermon in Acts 3 to the Jewish people. He said, the times of the restoration of all things spoken of by the prophets since the world began. That is when Jesus comes from heaven. It'll all finally be fulfilled. Okay? Now, does anyone see something wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this right here? It is not the lion and the lamb lying down, it's the wolf. But we have set in our minds the idea of the lion and the lamb so long that it ends up, on most pictures. But as a matter of fact, let's not worry about it. The lions also will be friendly, harmless. Children will play with them and with bears and with all kinds of, even deadly snakes will be harmless. That's Isaiah. And a goat, and a little goat. Right. And a child will lead them. He'll play on the hole of an asp, a deadly snake, and they will not hurt or destroy in all my holy kingdom. Now, friends, there have not been very many times in world history when all animals are harmless. And every time they have been, it's because the people were all sinless. Let me qualify that. Were regenerated, born-again people. And when was that? In the first world, Adam and Eve were sinless, and all the animals were harmless. In Noah's Ark, everybody was regenerated. The whole human race for months during the flood was born again. Everybody else was dead. And all the animals in the ark were friendly. Okay? They didn't come in the ark gobbling each other up and attacking Noah's family. When Jesus was here, we're told in the Gospel of Mark that He was with the wild beasts in the wilderness and none of them touched Him. They would obey Him as King of Kings. And in the coming kingdom age, lo and behold, the animal kingdom will be restored to its original Edenic condition before the fall, the curse. Amazing. I want to ask the Lord some questions. Will we have to swat mosquitoes? No. Mosquitoes will all smile at us. Okay? Think of that. Furthermore, when the kingdom comes, friends, there'll not only be a physical restoration, but a national restoration. That is, Israel will become the ruling nation of the world, and through Israel, all these amazing things that God committed to that nation will be taught to the whole Gentile world. Zechariah 14 says, every nation in the world, Gentile nation, must come to Jerusalem at the Feast of Tabernacles at the end of the year, usually probably October, to be taught by Jewish priests how to worship the Lord, how to offer sacrifices in a God-honoring way. You say, offer sacrifices? Well, I thought that when Jesus died on the cross, that all the animal sacrifices ended. And that's a very difficult question. Let me try to explain something that we'll be talking about at length this next 2 weeks, especially the second week in Mishawaka at the School of Theology. We're studying the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel was a priest, just like Jeremiah was, see, and Zechariah. And he is going to tell us what's going to happen to the priests in the coming kingdom age. The genuine, true priests will be reestablished in Jerusalem to be the official teachers of the whole world. Zadokian priests, you see. There were 2 lines of priests, you remember, in the time of David, and one was the Ithamar line, and one was the Eleazar line. And the true priest, Zadok, will take over the instruction program for the whole world. And they will say to the people, look, these animal sacrifices do not do what? Take away sin. They never did do in the Old Testament. They're a fabulously effective visual aid of God's protection for people who have a sin nature from being immediately destroyed in the presence of a holy God. Now, I personally believe that at least at the Feast of Tabernacles each year Jesus will appear in Jerusalem, doubtless with his bride, the church, now glorified, to implement this massive global instruction program to show people what the blood of Jesus really did. See, what the animal blood that you're offering here cannot do, his blood did do. This animal blood is for atonement. That's Ezekiel 45:18. It covers over your sin. It can't take it away. It protects you symbolically. See? And therefore, you and I as Christians have a hard time imagining a program like that being reinstituted and dominating the world. You say, well, we're going back to weak and beggarly elements. We're going back to Judaism. Well, wait a minute. Let's put it in a better way. We're going upward and onward in terms of what? A temporarily interrupted, postponed program called Israel, which was a God-established, God-created program. The institutions God gave to Israel were marvelous, beautiful, effective. It's just that the people didn't appreciate it and didn't ever honor God, and God is going to show the whole world how it was intended to be obeyed and observed and implemented. For once, we'll see a true Israel functioning under God. So it's an upward move for Israel. I mean, the church is not involved at all in this. We're not going to have any sacrifices because all Christians will be in what condition? Glorified with no sin nature. See? We don't need animal sacrifices to symbolize things. We are going to be perfect, ruling with Christ for 1,000 years like angels do today. So when the church takes over the world, guess what? Angels are finished. That's Hebrews 2:4. Not unto angels has he made subject the world to come, whereof we speak, this world here. Angels will be conspicuous for their absence. Did you know that? Why, they have enormous activity, functions, responsibilities today. There are endless clashes between righteous and wicked angels going on all around us night and day. And righteous angels have been sent forth, you know, Hebrews 1:14, to minister to those who are heirs of salvation. That's you and me. They're protecting us from demons all the time. And Satan. Satanic angels, called demons, are constantly night and day trying to destroy you and me. And if just for 5 seconds our eyes were open to see the angelic world, we'd never be the same again. Gigantic, stupendous angelic armies clashing with each other night and day. Okay? When Jesus comes back, what happens to the wicked angels? They're all cast down into the abyss, the pit, the Sheol, Hades, Tartarus, the lower realms of the dead, including Satan. And what happens to the righteous angels then?